One of the things that I get asked all the time as a chef is how to properly cook a steak. So over here, we have chuck flap, which would be closest to a boneless short rib. This steak is super highly marbled, so you can see how much fat is in there. What that's gonna do is render out as we're gonna cook it. But before you even start thinking about cooking, you wanna get your pan or your grill hot, and you wanna temper your meat. What I mean by that is you wanna pull this out, and you wanna have this meat come up to room temperature. It's a really good way to get the temperature a bit more accurate. The other thing that I recommend doing as soon as you pull it out of the fridge is aggressively salting it. Always use kosher salt. You want a larger grain size, not something that's super fine. I salted this one already, and you can start to see some of this liquid coming out of here, and that's gonna give you a really nice Maillard reaction, that caramelization, the browning that happens between the salt, the heat, and the meat proteins. Once that comes up to room temperature, you're just gonna pat this down, and I can already see how much liquid is coming out of there. So we're gonna throw that one down. You can start to see all this smoke coming out. This is actually that fat rendering to its smoking point, but that's a good thing. People ask about these cross marks, and to get those cross hatches perfectly, you're just gonna turn this at a 45-degree angle. The other thing that you want to bear in mind too, especially with grilling, the coolness of the steak is actually cooling this grill down. So anytime we turn it, we're going to want to put it in a new location. It's really hard to give an exact time on how long you should cook your meat on each side without knowing what the exact cut is, how hot your oven runs. The best way to tell is to have a meat thermometer, and bear in mind that medium rare is 125 degrees Fahrenheit. I prefer my steaks super rare, but we have all of this marbling. So you actually want to not be at rare because you do want to have this fat melt down. If you don't, it's just going to be kind of hard in the center. So you can start to see this like really amazing caramelization that's happening, that Maillard reaction that I was talking about, that browning that you get on meat from the combination of meat, heat, and salt. When you cook your steak and pull it off of the grill, the last thing that you want to do is immediately cut into it. It's super important for that meat to kind of reconstrict itself. An ideal resting time is 10 to 15 minutes at the minimum. If you slice into it now, everything is going to run out. The other thing that's really important to talk about is the grain of the muscle and the direction in which it's going. You can see right here, this is all the grain. You can see all those lines, and it even comes down to the side. So if I were to cut parallel to this, it'd be really tough to chew and get through. You're gonna see those lines, that striation versus this. This is ideally what you would like. So you can find your grain this way, cut completely opposite. So you can see, we now have a perfectly cooked steak cut against the grain. So always remember, room temperature meat, super hot grill or pan, more salt than you think that you need. Find that grain, cut against it after you give it plenty of resting time. That will give you a perfect steak every time. Chef approved.